Hi everyone, Michael here, Christ of England. Today I want to talk about how the British people have been abandoned by everybody in terms of the politicians, the church, the royal family, all our institutions such as the courts, the police, even probably the military, and that the good shepherd we need to return to who will protect us is Christ. So let's go. Okay, so as I said in the intro, the British people have literally been abandoned by everyone. It seems like we are completely surrounded by corruption in our country, to the point that it's incomprehensible to me what is even going on. The fact that we have young girls being abused, and instead of our elites being outraged and fighting back to stop it, they're covering it up and contributing to these things happening, which is unbelievable what is even going on. And even yesterday, I was looking at mental health problems for people and just thinking of starting my own spiritual health movement or plans to help people with spiritual, or to help people from a spiritual point of view. And I was looking at other charities, and there was a charity called Mind. And I checked out the reviews. I couldn't believe it. They had a 1.5 star rating, which is obviously a terrible rating. And when I was reading all the comments, it was basically saying from people how it's basically just a giant scam, and that the non-profit may have been set up with good intentions, but it's been corrupted like everything else in our country, and that government have got involved in terms of they subsidize and finance some of it. This is what one of the comments was saying. And that basically it now exists to not even help people, really. It's there to make money and maintain the status quo. And sadly, there was even some comments saying things such as like what happened with the grooming gangs, in terms of young girls were abused and the authorities covered up a lot of the problems. And within this mental health charity, apparently there was certain issues going on, and instead of the powers that be sorting them out, they covered up some of this dodginess that was going on. So it just shows the state of our country when even a charity or charities that are supposed to help people are even corrupt. The fact that this just sums up the NGO problem. All these NGOs seem to be a face of righteous, we're the do-gooders, but these are the ones inflicting a lot of the problems on us. So these are the ones helping get all these illegals into our country, and then helping get them lawyers to represent them when they've abused the British people. So the whole system is a complete joke. And we're essentially led by ravenous wolves. And the British people are sheep. And in this analogy, it's not an insult, say, calling people a sheep. It's just that this is the analogy of the people, the flock, the people of Britain are sheep, and we're led by ravenous wolves who basically are tearing them apart. But what needs to happen is they need to turn to the Good Shepherd. And the Good Shepherd who protects his sheep is Christ. Now, what you need to understand, this is not from a Christian terms of view, because in Christian terms, they think that Jesus is going to come back physically into the world and restore order and put everything right that's going wrong in the world. But what really is going to happen is the Spirit of Christ will rise within the people of the nation, and then they will call people to repentance. And then through the Spirit of Christ, who is the Good Shepherd, they will restore things in the country and in the world. It's a spiritual reality, not a physical reality. So Christ's Spirit will come back through us, not the physical Jesus coming down from heaven defying the laws of the universe. It's a spiritual thing. And that is precisely why I have set up the Christ of England, to be the Good Shepherd, to get men and women of Christ involved, to be the Good Shepherd and to push back against all this evil corruption. And if we can take all the money from the NGOs and get power and influence, or be a light to the people of the country, then things will get better. And that was one of the things I was working on, because I was looking at it. I even have friends who work in the psychology industry, and I say that some people are waiting up to 2 years for mental health support, which is absolutely insane. Now, my goal, what I was thinking of, I want to give spiritual support. Now, I understand that mental health is a different topic, but I believe that depression is generally a spiritual problem. It's an existential crisis, because ultimately depression comes from living in the darkness of the ego. And ultimately, you could say to anybody, and this is what they feel, is that in 100 years, we'll all be dead. What's the point of life? It's just a waste of time. And it's a kind of, you're filled with a darkness. And the solution to that is to be born again of the Spirit. Understand your true spiritual nature is that you are not the flesh. You're the consciousness. You're the awareness. You are made in the image of God, which is spirit, that you are eternal. That awareness, your consciousness, observing your thoughts. That's the eternal one, the perfect. It's made perfect in the image of God. That is the Spirit of Christ. And once you know that, depression will disappear. The light of Christ within you will cause your depression to disappear. And that is the goal of what I want to do, is all these people waiting for help with depression is to give them spiritual solutions. And then as we expand, I will get psychologists involved as well to help people with their mental health, because depression may be spiritual, but it may be somewhat mental, and it also may be somewhat physical in terms of they may have drug addictions or terrible diets that causes the body to resonate at a low level that causes some sort of depression. But through the Christ of England, I will have myself as a good spiritual advisor, a psychologist who knows Christ as well to help people with their mental health problems, and also physical doctors to help with physical problems. And then that three ways of helping people overcome their issues. And there's many things we can do. We can do education. Our kids and nieces, nephews, all our youth are getting brainwashed in schools. So if you can't pull them out and homeschool them, then at least we can provide online courses of quick lessons to keep the youth awake and not corrupted by the school. And we can even have summer camps where we can teach the truth of Christ and protect them from the system. And it's the same with teaching people about their physical health, teaching people about how to manage the finances and how the financial system is corrupt, and try and make changes to the financial system, even starting our own bank. We could start our own Christ bank and give out interest-free mortgages and loans and stop this usury and trying to reduce or trying to get back on a gold standard financial situation. And we can also teach how to be masculine and feminine for men and women, how to find a good wife or husband, how to deal with relationships from a spiritual point of view, how to raise your children correctly from a spiritual point of view, how we could set up a sort of Christ army or Christ protectors who will be men who are tasked with the duty of protecting the people, because the police have abandoned us. So if we get lots of Christ army, we can set up sort of movements where women who are being abused can be protected, and we can protect our streets ourselves without relying on these corrupt people who are against us. And we can get community movements happening. And there's many things that we can do. And this is all of my plan of all the things I've been working on recently to put into practice. Okay, so if you like what I'm talking about, and if you want to help the UK and even the world sort out its problems by returning to Christ, come and subscribe to this channel if you're new. If you're already subscribed, thanks for the support. Please like, share, and comment below to help the algorithm. And also, it's our duty. We're a team. This is not a one-person job. We're not going to save our country by one person. It's a team effort. So if you're subscribed and you like what I'm talking about, and you want to help support, what I want you to do is, if you speak to someone and they're resonating on a similar level, they're fed up with the state of the country, tell them, you need to subscribe to the Christ of England. Share our movement with as many people as you can. And then we can grow the numbers. And once we've got our numbers up into big numbers, we can start making real change in our country. And with the power of the Spirit of Christ, nothing can stop us. Okay? So, as I said, subscribe, like, comment. God bless everybody today. I hope everybody is well. Goodbye. God bless.